Welcome to another episode of In Your Right Mind with Dr. Tonmoy Sharma. I'm Bree Chilton, and we're here with Dr. Blanca Cervantes.
Oh, psychiatrist extraordinaire. So we're going to talk about depression today. So, Bree, have you been sad?
Before, yes.
Yes?
Absolutely.
You sound like a chirpy and happy person to me.
Generally
Speaking.
But sometimes the most happy people are
Right.
not always the most happy.
Yeah, we've seen that with Robin Williams, for example.
Yeah.
You don't know what's inside or when these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about depression, so it's sadness is a normal state of mind, correct, Dr. Cervantes?
Well, yes. It's not a consistent state of mind necessarily. If it is consistent, then that's when it becomes pathological. But if it's coming and going, and it's a normal reaction to daily life that is fleeting and appropriate, then yes, it is.
Well, Bree is sad when she loses a football game. I think she calls it soccer.
Yes, no, that's devastating.
There's usually anger with that, though.
Anger with that. At the goalkeeper. So you're saying all of us feel sad from time to time, depending, and there are appropriate circumstances, and we might also be grieving at any loss, whatever it is.
Yes.
The question then people would want to know is, what is that normality of sadness? We have emotions, we can be happy, we can be sad. Where do you draw the line?
Well, that's an excellent question. And first of all, if someone is sad and there aren't any circumstances in their life that would be appropriate for an emotion of sadness, in other words, it's an inappropriate reaction to their day-to-day life, then that in and of itself can be considered something to have looked into.
Okay.
To go to a therapist.
Right.
Is there also like a scale of sadness, too?
Yes. So oftentimes, when you go see a mental health treatment provider, you will have lots of questions, and one of them that they ask is, do you feel like your depression is mild? Is it moderate? Is it severe? Does it fluctuate? And I mean, to answer Dr. Sharma's question earlier is, at what point, let's say there is a circumstance that is, let's use the word valid for feeling sad, then how long is it okay to be sad? And then at what point does it become too much or too long or too protracted or disabling, where, if you stop going to school or you stop going to work, for a long period of time. And usually that marker is about 2 weeks.
Okay, in terms of length of time. When I used to see patients some time ago, I would also look at, I think what you described, functionality. So I would ask whether that sadness, or as they call it, or low mood, is affecting their lives in any way, whether it's a personal life, whether it's at work. So if you could be sad, I think. Some people are sad for periods of time, but the question is, are they depressed from a clinical standpoint? Yeah. We have rating scales for that, formal rating scales, and like the Hamilton and self-rating scales as well. But I think if somebody is depressed, they don't need help. Another symptom that I used to look for is what clinically we've called anhedonia. So if you're sad, then something that brings you happiness, say a comedy show or seeing your mother or your kids, should bring you happiness. And that sadness should be at least temporarily gone or decrease at least.
Right.
I think anhedonia is a state where it's the inability to experience pleasure, and it's a core symptom of depression. So one would look at it and say, do you feel happy at all with what made you happy earlier?
Exactly.
And if they can't, if that has changed, then we probably got enough to be a little worried about.
Absolutely. So one of the good ways of gauging just how severe a depression is, or their sadness is you ask questions like, what are the things that normally bring you joy, that normally make you happy? And for some people, that's seeing their grandchildren, or playing with their kids, or playing a certain sport, or going out to eat with their friends. And the most common response is, I go through the motions, but I just don't feel happy. They might say, I either feel numb, or I feel like I'm faking a smile, but inside I feel sad, or I don't want to be there.
I think you've touched on an important word. A lot of people talk about being numb.
Yes.
They talk about being not able to experience any
Or
of this emotion.
with numbness, not having highs or lows. It's just kind of you're the same all the time.
Right. Yeah. And that's one way that maybe some people can actually not realize they're depressed,
Right.
is that they're maybe, I just have the blues, or, and I just don't have my normal emotional reactions. I'm just feeling numb. And the problem with that is that it starts to interfere with fulfillment and purpose, and feeling a sense of, joy getting up in the morning, or, direction. So if someone starts to experience that, then you start to get into a higher risk of, and I know I'm getting into this a little too early, but suicidal thoughts.
Sure.
And they could be very passive, like, what is the point of life? Mm-hmm. That could be as simple as that.
I think one of the questions we ask people is, do you feel like life is not worth living?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Instead of asking, are you suicidal?
Right.
Yeah. So it's all right. Well, I guess it's the inability to experience pleasure, feeling numb. The other thing is, are there cultural differences? You come from a wonderful Hispanic family.
That's an excellent question. Yes, there are. And so specifically, my family's from Mexico, and I think every culture has its pros and cons. Some of them can actually be a little bit more protective towards keeping you from becoming depressed, and some of them can actually make it a little bit more likely that you become depressed. And at least in my personal opinion, I feel like one of the things that the Mexican culture has is that because we're very family oriented and connected, on the one hand, that could be bad for some families because then it can get oppressive and it's like two, helicopter parents. But on the other hand, there is a sense of community. There is a sense of connection. And so when you have that, then if you do start to experience a change in your normal behavior patterns, and someone's more likely to check in with you and say, hey, what's going on? I noticed something different about you. And so there is that cultural intervention, shall we say.
Right.
And then there are other cultures that, they're much more independent. Everybody's doing their own thing. They're not necessarily connecting as frequently because everyone's busy. And so there is a higher probability of, feeling more isolated.
Right.
And that's one of the symptoms of depression, is feeling withdrawn and isolated. And so, so what can you think of some cultures that might actually, I hate stereotyping, but,
well, I think that's relevant with my family and my culture. I don't like our families. My immediate family has never lived together necessarily. I mean, I moved in with my grandma when my mom had me for a little bit with her, but we never really had that community. Like grandparents didn't live with us necessarily. That wasn't the case, and I feel like in the Hispanic culture and in others, that is more common. Yes. So you have that sense of
certainly
community.
In Indian cultures, and if you leave by 18, they will disown you. They will disown you. You say, "How dare you? Is my cooking not right?" The mother will ask.
Well, and I think there's hyper independence too with. Like even with my family, like everyone pretty much, like my mom owns a home, my dad owns a home. Right. It's not the expectation of me to own my own home, but it's kind of like I went off to school, I left, I started my career. Right. So, and not to say that's not prevalent in other cultures as well, but the sense of community, my friends have always been closer to me than my family.
Right. So I guess it's, if we talk about factors that are either preventive or alleviate things, without going into the clinical side, it's having a loving family. Years ago, I think Julian Leff from the Institute of Psychiatry in London did some study a very long time ago, where he showed that in South London, people who live in council accommodation, I guess it's Section 8 type of accommodation, who have on their own and have 3 children under the age of 6, have the highest propensity, and you would not be so surprised by it, that to develop depression. Yes. But familia, I guess, is one aspect of keeping people together, but also of supportive. And as you said, if the family environment is toxic, then that's a different issue. So,
and that is a very interesting topic, and I'd like to follow up on that when we get back from the break.
This is In Your Right Mind with Dr. Tonmoy Sharma and Blanca Cervantes.